David, in trying to understand what our world is all about, quantum theory is extremely important, and it is extremely strange. And I come to you to try to help me to understand what it means and how we should think about it.
Is it that it seems illogical to you?
Well, to have something in two different places at the same time is illogical. Entanglement is illogical, where there's this seemingly communication across distances beyond the speed of light, but it's not a communication. Probabilistic functions where things are described by probabilities, not facts. You can't know positions and momentum of particles. There's a lot of strange things.
Well, the real secret is that it seems illogical because it is. It involves a revision of the fundamental laws of logic. This was already pointed out by Niels Bohr very soon after the invention of quantum theory by him and Heisenberg. He said, you mustn't apply logic to the atom. You must reason about it in the following way. And usually this is expressed as a revision in the laws of probability. You have this incredible situation where opening a window can darken a room. When you have one window open, a certain amount of illumination gets in, you open another, the room gets darker. It's called interference of probabilities or probability amplitudes. You have possibilities of cancellation that you couldn't dream of until you got down to the quantum level of detail. I should mention these windows have to be damn small.
Hey, I mean, you know, it's absolutely illogical. And you're telling me that that you have to get rid of the normal logic that we have. I mean, that's so much a part of
I
our
can't
world.
tell you what you have to do. No, in fact, half the physicists simply say, don't try to understand quantum theory. Just play the game, like a chess game. Just follow the rules and take what you get.
And it works.
And it works every time.
Okay.
The most successful theory we have.
But that's not good enough.
Well, if you want to understand it, then you have to be willing to go inside, find out what you think are the laws of logic and work on them. It's as hard as learning a new language.
Take me on the journey.
For me, it actually began in high school when I heard of non-Aristotelian logic and ran around trying to find out what they were talking about. And then in college, I came across quantum theory, and it was presented as a revision of logic that I'd been looking for all those years. So I came in from left field, as it were. Most people meet quantum theory as a problem. I met it as a solution. I like it.
But the solution is because it contradicts the normal logic that we are comfortable with in our world.
Just as Einstein's geometry contradicts the normal geometry we find in our world.
Yes.
I think Darwin said if something doesn't seem surprising, it's because it was helpful in our evolution millions of years ago. Anything that comes along that's new has to seem surprising, or it's probably wrong.
Because we weren't, our genes didn't select for that not to be surprising.
There's a certain logic and a certain geometry that are really wired into us.
Right. And
we know how to catch a ball, for example, without taking a long course in ball catching.
Right, right. Because we had to do that evolutionary.
Right. But if you want to learn quantum logic, you have to do a few simple exercises.
So
usually I carry around 3 polarizers. It's very easy to demonstrate the peculiarity of quantum logic with photons in broad daylight.
Okay, so what are the kinds of logical laws we have to give up, and what do we have to accept?
There are many, many ways of expressing the change. Each person finds his own way to live with it.
Okay.
None of them are understandable in the intuitive sense. All of them involve radical rethinking. I've mentioned rethinking, changing the laws of probability. Instead of adding probabilities, you introduce numbers which can be positive or negative and add them. That's where the cancellations come from.
So when you add things, they can add or they can cancel.
Right.
And in our normal world, they would only add.
Right. And another way to put it, which is actually, I think, deeper and preferred in more advanced circles, is to say that the order in which you make tests on a system affects the answer.
Okay, now in normal arithmetic, if you add or you multiply, the order that you do things doesn't matter.
And also, if you ask questions, ordinarily changing the order of the questions shouldn't change the answers.
Okay.
But good lawyers know that if you ask questions in the right order, you can lead the witness. And all physicists lead the witness in quantum theory. You can get almost any answer you like by asking the right sequence of questions.
And those answers can be radically different from each other.
Right.
With the same set of questions, it's just the order that you
You
ask
can
them.
drastically change the outcome just by changing the order a little bit. Not a little bit, a lot. Total change in order.
It's the same questions, it's just change in order, different answers.
Right, and there is a kind of arithmetic of logic that was introduced by George Boole in the last century. Boolean algebra, it's called. One of his axioms is AB equals BA.
Right.
AB doesn't equal BA. Aside from that, he was right.
In quantum.
Exactly,
Yeah.
at the microscopic level. In fact, if A and B are tests of the kind that Boole is talking about, usually the product AB isn't even a test. It's something more general. Logic doesn't close on itself anymore. It flows into dynamics. There's no clear boundary between logic and the rest of thinking.
All right, taking a deep breath and understanding that, what can we infer from that?
What does it mean to say that the normal ways of thinking about our logic doesn't apply?
Well, first of all, it nearly drove Heisenberg crazy. What does it mean to say AB doesn't equal BA? 2 times 3 equals 3 times 2.
Right.
Why should it be different for physical variables?
Right.
And finally, he realized it means that if you know one of them, you can't know the other. If they were both numbers, of course they'd commute. So they can't both be numbers.
Oh.
If you know one, you must be a little bit ignorant about the other. So the Heisenberg uncertainty principle flowed out of this order
Okay.
dependence
Okay.
and helps us to understand it. But it's the order dependence which is the fundamental thing. And the uncertainty principle is just a way of explaining it to people.
Now that uncertainty principle is that you can't know the position and the momentum of a microscopic object at the
At
same time.
once.
And the more you know one, the less you know the other. So if you can be absolutely precise about the position, you have absolutely no knowledge whatsoever of the momentum and vice versa.
As you can imagine, this changed physics drastically.
Right.
Physics before this was called classical physics today, and physics after it is called quantum physics. And in mathematical circles, sometimes it's just called non-commutative physics.
Commutative means that the order doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter,
Right.
exactly.
And non-commutative means that the order does matter. How you ask the question affects the answer.
Right, now when I came across this revised logic back in college, as a result of the writings of the mathematician John von Neumann, I realized immediately, of course, we all know that geometry is an exercise in logic.
Mm-hmm.
If you change the logic, that means you're changing geometry. And it hadn't been done. It seemed like a good life's work. And I've been working on that ever since, the quantization of geometry.